Hey there, VC. Mick back, this time with a response to a thread proposed by fellow Queenslander. It is the A Righteous Bojambo, known to us all as Foul Quince. I just call him Quince. And his channel, which is not so much a channel, more a way of life. He's come up with a scavenger hunt. So in recognition of the Australianness of this, I've decided to do an all-Australian response. So listen carefully. Okay, first question. An album that is older than me. This came out in 1968, and it's Australian folk legend, but there's a little bit of Sid Barrett in this, and there's a little bit of Derek Bailey as well. Pit Proud. This is Adrenaline and Richard. This was released on the international label. It's technically his second album, and his first album was a private press of about 100 copies. That was later reissued in this form, but the tracks have been recorded. Thankfully, Half a Cow Records have released a new edition of that, and I found this interesting for a 60s record. Came with this fantastic insert, which tells you how New Australia was looking in 1968. Next up, a 7-inch that's B-side is as good as the A-side. And let's go with the Eastern Dark and the Australian classic. Side that one, which is Julie is a Junkie, and side the other one is Johnny and Dee. In this case, I would say Johnny and Dee is the hit. It talks about the Ramones' love of the Eastern Dark on the always interesting Australian Waterfront label there. Okay, Australian triple LP, not an easy task, but how could I go past Bored? This is their Chunks album, which looks at songs, bits and pieces from 1988 to 1994. Now, the Bored legend was still forming when this was released. Interestingly, it's on the Full Toss label, and people will know Rich Stanley from the Onyas, and this was his label. It's a no frills triple LP, where there's the Full Toss label, where all three records are not in a fold out sleeve, but just a singular sleeve. There's the back of it there, showing the spirit of Bored, and then you get a nice inner there, showing some pictures of the boys and their various releases. R.I.P. Dave Thomas. Some classic covers on this. We get Demolition Girl by Ed Cooper, Human Being by fellow Queenslander Lobby Lloyd. We also get some AC/DC on here. We also get a couple of Russell Barasivic songs, and yeah, a really good overview of where Bored were. Okay, let's take this to the dance floor. So the real interest in this for me was I've recently been listening to I guess records that came out of the Paradise Garage loft scene in New York, which made me thinking, gee, what's an Australian record that's actually something along those lines? And I noticed that this record, Precious Sway by the Machinations, was actually remixed in New York. This was a classic 80s Australian cult dance floor hit. The B-side has got a kind of interesting groove as well. On the white label, and not the only great thing the Machinations did. They also did a great song called Average Inadequacy. Okay, low energy title track. Okay, and here we have something special. This album is called Yarandu, and it comes out of the ACT, Canberra in fact, and the key composer here is Rob Tomset. This album, I guess I would say, is a mixture of ECM jazz with a definite indigenous bent. There's mellotron, synthesizer, congos, tape recorders, but more importantly is Bayam. In the beginning, Bayam, the All-Father, also known as the Sky King, walked upon the earth, and that certainly is a low-energy track as we enter the world of Yarandu. Self-released on the Kambali Music label. Okay, next one. Now, the next one's important because it's a shout out to the last channel I watched, and the last channel I watched was Francis Tree's response to Vinyl Richie's contest, which was a no contest contest. But what Francis did do is he ran through some great outsider records. So we're talking everything from Daniel Johnston, Wild Man Fisher, and on and on. Best list Francis has ever done. So I thought I'd go something a bit quirky. This is a late cut called Winner Manly Retard Disco. Sorry about the un-PC dissection there. And what it is about, or who it's from, is this guy called Bryce Moorhead. A couple of things about Bryce. He actually originates from around my hometown. The other thing is he's also become a semi-famous, I guess, producer, recorder of music, in that he recorded the Violent Soho album Waco, and has also recorded the Australian band Hits at his Zero Interface studios. This is one of those ridiculous lathe cuts that are forever, that came out of New Zealand. Super limited. Other great tracks that I'm sure Francis would be interested in would be Invisible Dogshit Song, Citrus Oil Slut Song, and he talks about Retard Salami. Certainly, yeah, something unique to maybe hopefully pick out of the racks one day. Okay, vibraphone. Okay, Australia, not the home of vibraphone, but it was the home of John Sangster. Now, John Sangster, on this particular recording, plays vibraphone, marimba, and percussions, and this is called Landscapes of Middle Earth, and this is sort of a companion piece to his Lord of the Rings trilogy. Now, John Sangster did a number of fantastic vibes albums, but on these ones, he gets very nice and psychedelic. This is somewhere between proto-hippie jazz and, I guess, something that would be a soundtrack work. You can see some of the lads there, and there's John Sangster. Crucial, huh? John Sangster has a number of jazz albums which are worth quite a bit of money, but I don't think he actually got much better than Middle Earth. A little bit of funk in there as well. Really interesting album. Okay, the next challenge is the sides, and it's all about the way the sides are played. So previous generations would have record players that enabled you to stack records to play. So you did need the opposite side to albums, so they would fall correctly. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what I'm going to show here is Lou Reed's Metal Machine Music. Now, the Australian twist is the two versions I'm showing you were released in Australia. So, believe it or not, the Australian version of Metal Machine Music actually got reprinted. I actually find that amazing because I can't imagine 1970s Australia being totally enamoured by that. On the other hand, I'm also proud that the heads who were enamoured by it bought it in sufficient numbers that would see it repressed. And I mean, this is the key aspect here. So we have side 1, side 4, and side 3, and side 2. Now, what even makes it more surprising is in the context that Lou Reed gives this fantastic interview with Australian journalists, and he does prove to be quite a difficult cat, which is what you'd expect from Lou. Okay, next one is autograph or paraphernalia. Now, I guess like all Australians, we tend to love the Saints, and so we should. They're a local band not far from where I live. Anyway, so what I have here is the Aints album and the Church of Simultaneous Existence. So that's the version of the album everyone gets. However, there is, you guessed it, a test pressing. And there we are, signed by Ed Cooper. This is, I think, 1 of 5. So always great to have Ed's signature. But also plays into the fandom that Australians have for the Saints. And just because this is what Queensland guys do, Quince showed Eternally Yours and the music on vinyl version. I'll show Prehistoric Sound and version 9043 for the limited number question. And this album often gets panned as not their best, and certainly is not their best. But what you do see here is you see a band that's progressed forward, particularly on the song Swing for the Crime. This is moving way ahead of music trends, but also their peers in Australia. Not on Harvest, but comes with the marble vinyl. Okay, next one. Bit of a tough one. A record from a land area that doesn't exist anymore. So what I've decided to focus on is this record from 1966, Songs from North Queensland, which is recordings of the Australian Institute of Aboriginal Studies. However, the key thing here is it provides Indigenous Australian songs, which some date back to pre-European times when Australia wasn't Australia. Now, the Indigenous sense of continent didn't really exist in the same sphere as Western geography, and they sort of called the areas they lived in country as such. But some of these songs date back to pre-European Australia, and the significant different culture there. This Australian Institute of Aboriginal Studies label is pretty interesting. There's a number of box sets that are available which document Alan Lomax's style for our international viewers around Indigenous music and songs that had been played for generations. And lastly, a top loader, hey? Okay. I know this is going to be hard to see, but this is the Hard-Ons live at the Annandale Hotel. And yes, you've guessed it, it is a top loader. And it top loads through this bag here, which is a little bit creased. Hopefully you can see their photo if I put it in nice and close, and comes on Rigididge marble vinyl. There's a toothpick and some other goodies here. Anyway, that's me done. Thanks, Quince, for having a great label and a great way of presenting music. And I know you focus on broader aspects, not just vinyl. So I appreciate that. Top quality production values as well.